Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises to manage clients and projects with max efficiency, sharing Wix's SEO tech to help you drive growth.
Fix errors, waste, and issues in a couple of clicks. Get alerted whenever you're off track. Sign up at trueclicks.com.
Thank you, Calvin. I really didn't want to follow the t-shirt gun, so thank you for that. Brighton, why do we use this phrase all the time? It's crap. It's synonymous with our community, and it's my personal mission to rid our profession of this phrase as a response to a question about SEO. I will admit, I used to say it an awful lot. I actually said it so much that one client turned around to me and said, "You would make a great politician," which is not a compliment, trust me. Shout out to AI for stitching my head on a politician. Very well done. I used to follow the guidelines. Who remembers these? That's actually a lot lower than I was hoping, which makes me feel very old. Thank you, Brighton, for that. Yeah, I used to follow the guidelines, the vague guidelines from Matt Cutts. Optimize your titles, links matter, get your tech right, blah, blah, blah. Great, thank you very much. I was faking it. I know the exact moment this picture was taken 10 years ago. I am sat there in my job as an SEO professional, absolutely shitting it, thinking, why the hell have I signed myself up for this? Got no idea whatsoever. And it was because I was following this, or trying to. I was faking it, but Google was faking it as well. Documents released as part of the antitrust trial in the US in September last year. This is actually a slide from a Google all-hands presentation in 2016 saying, "We do not understand documents, we fake it," aka we look at user intent and user signals to qualify content quality. So, thanks for that. Thankfully, this is getting a lot better, and statements like that are a thing of the past. From the same antitrust trial, this is a document that was released in 2019. Early experimentation around natural language processing, using technology like BERT and MOM to better understand user intent and match that to document types. So moving away from the times of faking it, which is good. And as a result of this, the guidelines are now getting a lot better as well. This is the Search Quality Evaluator Guidelines. Tons and tons of really useful information in here about what Google uses to qualify content quality using EEAT. So if you haven't checked this out, but I'm sure most of you have, definitely go away and give it a read. We've also got a really good community as well. So this is Cyrus Shepherd, who was a Google quality rater after his time at Moz. He's released this document here, which lifts the lid on some of the things that he was asked to check over as a manual quality rater. So I'd definitely go away and give this a read as well, because that is super, super useful and a really good resource. Yandex leak. Who remembers this? Yeah. This was game-changing. Over 1,900 ranking factors exposed by a disgruntled Yandex employee. What makes this really important is we've never had this information before, and actually a lot of the people at Yandex are ex-Google, so we can start to draw some commonalities from this. Alex Barak has released a really useful guide on Twitter or X, which goes through that document in detail and exposes those ranking factors specifically. So definitely give that a read as well. And we've got a really supportive and progressive community. Woo! These are three people that I follow religiously: Mark Williams Cook, Daniel Foley Carter, Chris Long. What I really like about these guys is the information that they share is super practical, and you can take it away and implement what they're showing. So yeah, if you don't already, give these guys a follow. So why am I saying all of this? Well, I'm saying all of this because I believe now we've got more evidence than ever about how search actually works. And as a result of that, our approach and the language that we use to communicate SEO needs to change. So, hi, I'm Tom Mansell, Director of Organic Performance at Crowd, and I firmly believe that we are in the best place possible now to use more evidence within our approach for SEO. Getting buy-in is really difficult when it comes to implementing recommendations, and it's because we've always been really subjective with what we're saying, and we've been subjective because the guidance hasn't been very good, but that time is changing. These are some examples. This is, I mean, if you're leading a conversation with this and you're trying to talk to a tech team, or you're trying to talk to PR, or you're trying to get budget signed off from your CFO, if you're going in with stuff like this, you're setting yourselves up for failure. The language we use needs to change. Don't use this when you're speaking with those teams to get buy-in on SEO. What you should do is use language like this. We are going to deliver through our SEO program this much incremental revenue. And trust me, if you go in and lead with that, you'll unblock and get all of your implementation recommendations implemented. So how do we do this? Well, I believe there's two prerequisites to this process. Firstly, understanding the size of the prize and understanding how much incremental revenue you're going to deliver. And secondly, understanding how you actually get there. What are the tactics that you need to do to unlock that incremental revenue opportunity? So I'm going to start with identifying the size of the prize. How we do this at Crowd, 3-step process. Firstly, creating a performance baseline. So we use time series models here to ingest data from Google Analytics, traffic, revenue, transaction data, and then we'll use a time series model to say, if that same trend continues, what is that forward-looking baseline going to be for a 12-month or 24-month period? So that's our baseline. Then we calculate incrementality. So we take all of the keywords that we're looking to target, we build a click-through rate model, and we understand if we start to improve those keyword positions, how much additional traffic will we get, and in turn, how much additional revenue will we get? So we use that to calculate the incrementality. And then when we're working on large e-commerce sites, for example, you can't tackle all of that at once. So you have to understand what areas of the website, what categories, what products are going to deliver the quickest return. And we look at the level of competition and difficulty in those categories, together with the revenue opportunity available, to understand where we should start to prioritize and focus our effort. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but I did do a whiteboard Friday which explains that process in a whole lot more detail. And also attached to that is the forecasting template that we use. So you can make a copy of that and use that to get that data. What that gives you is something like this, which again, when you're going into a conversation with a CFO trying to unlock budget, we say, right, this is what has been delivered from organic search over the last 12 months. Using that forward-looking baseline, that time series model, this is what's actually going to happen if you continue on the same run rate as you have done over the last 12 months. But what we're going to come in and do is deliver this through our SEO program and our SEO initiatives. So subtracting what we'll deliver versus the baseline, we know that our SEO program is worth £600,000 in incremental revenue. And that's when we spark the interest and the attention of CFOs. So, understood on the revenue opportunity now, how do we actually get there? So, with all of this evidence that we have, all of this really progressive sharing within the community, We can get a checklist of things depending on the type, the vertical type that we work in. These are some of the things that we've tested at Crowd across different verticals that we know work. So we build up a repository of tasks and tactics that we know work to get us to that revenue number. With that repository and that list of tactics, when we come to start implementing, we monitor and measure the incrementality that those tactics are delivering. So we use test and learn log. So this is an example of our test and learn log at Crowd. And filling that in, causal proof is one method we use to calculate the true incrementality of a particular tactic. So in this example, we measured adding copy blocks to product category pages on an e-commerce site, select number of URLs. We measured that pre-launch and then we measured that post-launch. And the way that we calculated the incrementality of this was looking at the pages that we made those changes to, what was their percentage revenue contribution from organic search versus all of the other channels that were feeding into the total revenue number. And it was about 19% on those pages. Post implementing those copy blocks, obviously we started to pick up more rankings, etc. The revenue share went from 19% to around 21, 22%. So organic search was contributing more revenue than it was before. And we were able to then normalize that data, remove the seasonality from that period, and understand what the revenue value and impact was from that activity using that causal proof study that you can see there. Another example, geo-split testing. So we actually did this in partnership with Google. We isolated one market for an e-commerce website, which in this case was Germany. We switched off all paid search, brand, text ad activity in that market, reinvested that budget into performance max and shopping. But because we reduced on paid search brand, SEO started to pick that traffic up, and we were able to reinvest that into other areas, which led to a better ROI for that market. So we measured that, not pre and post, but we measured that versus other control markets we didn't make any changes in, and then we isolated the change that we did in Germany and used that to measure against those control markets. 15% lift in ROI. So hopefully you're starting to understand and see now how we can become more evidence-based and how we can use more of this testing to become more objective, more clear, more transparent on what we think we're going to deliver from our SEO program. Where I think this gets really powerful though is then beginning to understand the relative weighted impact of all of these tests that you're doing. If you're doing these tests on a really micro level, you can then start to understand the relative impact and know, should I be looking at optimizing H1s or should I be looking at optimizing titles? What's going to give me that bigger revenue lift? And you can do all of that through that process. This is a dashboard of a tool at Crowds that we're building to ingest all of that information, normalize the data, and give very clear scoring as to where we're at through the component parts of an e-commerce SEO strategy. So, your editorial, links, technical, which part do I need to turn to in order to improve performance? I think for me, that's always been a bit of a gap within SEO and something that we're trying to build better at Crowd. So you can understand here, these are very clear scores out of 5, but very quickly we can start to see within our SEO strategy where we've got gaps versus the competition, and digging into those scores in more detail. What specifically are the things that our competitors have that we do not have? We're doing this on a 2-weekly cycle, so very, very micro auditing of client and competitor websites to understand where we need to push in order to grow performance, all through this constant cycle of test and learn. All of this is assessed at scale, so we've built our own crawlers. Just wait for the slide to load there. Give it a push. There's people whirring away in the background behind me. There we go. I'm probably moving a bit quick. Cool. So this is what we're building at Crowd. The crawlers that we're using to do all of this assessment at scale. Taking information from third-party sources, so Wayback Machine, we're looking at what a web page looked like 2 weeks ago. What changes has a client or a competitor made in that period to understand, again, what's driving performance at scale and how can we take that and implement it into our strategy. We're also using ChatGPT as well to do a lot of this assessment, whereby we're looking at that content, we're looking at when it was last updated, who's authored that content, what's the credibility of that author. All of those questions take a long time to answer if you're trying to do that yourself, but you can use AI and you can use ChatGPT to try and find those answers for you. We don't just query ChatGPT once because you might get a weird result. We use ChatGPT as a panel. We'll query it 6 times and we'll aggregate the data that we get back in order to work out exactly where we're at from an SEO perspective. And that leads into the results that you can see there on the right-hand side. That tool that we're building is called SEO Max, and it's how we are turning towards using more of an evidence-based approach, using experimentation and automation at scale to be more objective with SEO. So that's what we're doing at Crowd. But a lot of what I've shown you today, you can lift and shift into your strategies independently of SEO Max and the tool that we're building. So please, 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 can we stop saying this? It's always been synonymous with our community, and it's always been a bit of a running joke that an SEO's favourite response is "it depends." It's crap and it has to stop, and we've got more evidence than ever to make it stop as well. What we need to do, calculate incrementality, better forecasting, talking to the revenue numbers that we're gonna deliver, and you can use my Whiteboard Friday to do that. Embrace experimentation, those test and learn results that I showed as well. Use that as a framework through those 2 examples that I showed to start to understand the true incrementality of the work that you are doing from an SEO perspective. When you can get those 2 things right, that is when you win. There is a QR code there. If you scan that, that will take you through to our website where you can download a white paper that we produced to complement this presentation, as well as access to the slides. And there's a little bit more information there around specific performance results that we've been able to drive from embracing this approach. So that's everything. Thank you very much, Brighton.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.
Demand Sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.